Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary, bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring in our top left-hand side, our red Protoss by the name of Naerok. He is our currently Gold League Protoss, however he was a previous Masters, a previous pro player, so he is very much used to being in Masters. This is one of his first games back, so he's climbing back up the ladder back to his home, which would be in your Masters League, probably Grandmasters eventually, I don't know, I have no idea. HerO is our opponent. He is our Blue Zerg. He is also in Masters. At the time of this replay, he was in Platinum, so that's why he met Naerok, but at the time of this casting, he is in Masters, because I looked at both of their Battle.net profiles just to make sure that everything was on the up and up, and that we could expect a fantastic game. And let me assure you that nothing gets past me, guys. We know that there's going to be a great replay if I'm going to be casting it, because that's a seal of quality. A seal of quality. And we have an Overlord coming out from HerO in the correct position, so good guess there for him. Cross spawn top to the left, and Whirlwind is a weird sort of map. Any map that gives you multiple spawn locations can really kind of hiccup your normal build style. Do you go Forge Fast Expand? Do you risk it? Do you go Hatch first? Do you risk it? Play that economic heavy card, or do you try to go for a little bit more of a passive play, which is kind of what Naerok's doing. He's getting that Gateway first expand, which is funny because I call it passive because he's not going very aggressive for the economic style, not going that mega macro, but going Gateway first can be aggressive in its own right. You can get out a handful of extra zealots, maybe one or two stalkers, and then push out across the map once you get your mothership core and do a little bit of damage, and then pop back with your recall. And it is aggressive in its own right because it can really punish what HerO's doing, which is getting out that hatchery first. Fortunately for him, the probe is going to be scouting in the complete opposite direction of his home, and we don't see a forge coming out at all, so there's no real chance for a cannon rush. But still, with that gateway and that early gas, Naerok's going to be able to tech very, very quickly into God knows what. I mean, he's going to be able to be very aggressive with some tech early on, and he's going to have to be because his own expansion is going to be delayed a little bit later than you would expect. Oh, and wow, HerO's actually going for a dual hatch before pool combo, and that is incredibly ballsy to say the least. And he's going to be feeling absolutely fantastic. He's already gone over the natural, so he knows there's no nexus there. Seeing the pylon being thrown down, he's going to be popping in here and seeing the gateway and cyber core, and he's going to be feeling great. No Forge Fast Expand. He's got all of his hatcheries down. He's going to be able to throw down his spawning pool, go for the gas immediately, which is kind of cool. This is actually a bit of a reflex from HerO. Traditionally, if you go 3 hatch first, then you will want to forego your gas as long as possible. You want to get up your saturation on your all of your mineral lines, and then eventually throw in that gas, eventually start working on that tech. By throwing down this gas a little bit earlier, it's his respect for Naerok. He's going in there, he's saying, hey, you've got a gateway out, you got a Cybernex core out there, you could cause some trouble. This mothership core can push out there with a handful of zealots and really mess up my day on my third hatchery, because I know that that's exposed. So he's getting that tech a little bit earlier, he's getting that speed a little bit earlier. We're going to see a healthy number of Zerglings and Queens popping out here in a very short amount of time, where traditionally you'd see something like a 4 Queen opening. We're probably going to see a 2 or 3 Queen opening with a lot more Zerglings thrown into the mix to help HerO defend against any sort of aggression that could be coming out of Naerok. We don't see any extra gateways being added on back at home. He is giving that extra gas, but he's also taking his own expansion. So all in all, Naerok's not shaping up to be hyper aggressive. He is going to be completing this wall off. I wonder what he's going to be throwing down there. Hopefully a forge, a gateway instead. Oh, nice. A cool decision here. He's going to be able to get out a lot of units because of that. So maybe, just maybe, Naerok will be a little bit aggressive. Only time will tell. Only time will tell. The probe has made its way in, just seeing exactly what was going on. Did he scout that other... No, I selected the Zerglings, didn't I? Son of a bitch. Oh, he did not scout that third. He's seen the natural, but he never got the third, and unfortunately for him, his probe did go down to one of these Zerglings, which is a bit unfortunate, because if Naerok did see that third, he'd know that his ability to be aggressive is a lot more significant than what he'd actually expect now by only seeing that natural. He also popped in here and saw that gas, so we don't really know how long they've been there. Obviously, if he had the presence of mind, he might be able to click that extractor and count how much gas was there, but because that probe was getting hit by those Zerglings pretty quickly, it's possible that he did not do that. So I wasn't paying attention enough, and I'm not going to bore you by rewinding to actually find out. We'll actually have to see if Naerok, his playstyle changes up at all. Gateway tech is almost done, and it looks like he's getting out a lot of sentries, which again tells me he's going to be very aggressive. We don't see an early robotics facility for some sort of immortal push. However, with the Roach Warren going down, that would be a viable strategy. I mean, it's coming back into vogue. I've seen it done a lot, especially on against Destiny, on Destiny stream, because of the style that he likes to play. He's very vulnerable to that. And HerO's actually setting himself up to be kind of exposed to that. We do see a lot of Zerglings streaming out here, and oh my goodness, nice play here by Naerok, actually throwing down that force field. I could have sworn those Zerglings were going to be able to get in there. I did see this and thought maybe it was a little wide, but as a pro player, Naerok definitely knows his little gaps, knows exactly how wide a gap he can actually do it. And yeah, it looks like this is just a little bit too wide for a single Zealot to hold position on. But again, maybe I was mistaken. Maybe that Zealot was simply on stop command rather than hold command. Early layer coming out from HerO, and this is unfortunate because we can see that's happening at the exact same time as the push out. No Stalkers thrown into this mix at all. This is just a slugfest. These Zealots are really going to be the major heavy hitters thrown into this mix. We don't see any upgrades at all, but the Zealots combined with the force fields can definitely pose a major issue for a primarily Zergling force from HerO. Fortunately for him, the Roach Warren is out, and we can see 4 Roaches are already on the production tab. Something that I was mentioning earlier about how the few number of queens that he has. Traditionally, you see a 4-queen opening so that the creep spread can be connecting the natural to the third, and that's really going to be biting HerO in the butt right whenever this push is happening. Note on the minimap, the Zerglings are beginning to pull back. Really nice force fields, once again trapping the majority of the Zealots into the just death zone of all those Zealots going to town on them. Fortunately, the Zerglings arrive, but again, nice force fields making it so that the surround from the Zerglings is pretty non-effective and forcing them to engage into the Zealots, and once again they get cleaned up because those Zealots are just so incredibly sturdy. And I don't think he lost a single one of those sentries. Switching over to the resources, last tab 1300 over just 500. That's not bad at all. Definitely in the favor of Naerok. He needs to start thinking about pulling out now. His Zealots have gone by the wayside. He's only got 1 or 2 out there, and they're actually in half health for one of them. And now the sentries are beginning to take a little bit of extra damage. You can see that their shields are down, and they are definitely going to get cleaned up in a relatively short amount of time. Oh, are they out of force fields? No. Just barely having enough room for the Stalkers to get in there, and still he's trying to take down that hatchery, but instead he's losing a lot of his sentries. Why did he stick around for so long? He lost way too many sentries. He was doing such a fantastic amount of damage. He was up by like 700 ahead of the... Okay, I get it. He was definitely ahead, and he was doing a hell of a lot of damage. He lost half of his sentries because he couldn't recall, and it wasn't because his energy was down. I mean, he's got a hell of a lot of extra energy. He wasn't using that energy on anything. I didn't see any time warp at all. He did a lot of damage on that regardless. He took out a lot of the Roaches. He took out every single one of the Zerglings that were out on the field, and because of that, HerO is thinking about pushing forward with some Roaches, but he's got to be careful. If he walks past this little door rather than taking down those gateways, one well-placed force field can definitely clean them up. However, Naerok throws down that Photon Overcharge on the Nexus, so unfortunately, no trap for HerO. He's going to have to pull back. Glial Reconstitution just seconds away from finishing. Roaches will be able to push forward and be a little bit more aggressive once that Photon Overcharge cleans up itself. Double Evo Chamber with a Hydralisk 10 being thrown on back at home. Once again, no creep spread at all, and that's definitely something that HerO is sorely missing. I cannot believe he's not doing that because it is so incredibly key, especially when you're trying to take that fourth, to have that very aggressive creep spread, making it so that you can take those aggressive bases. At the same time, Naerok is pushing out here. Once again, really nice force fields, enabling his Immortal just to shell down so much extra damage. But HerO is definitely microing his Roaches to some effect. He's managed to pick off a handful of those sentries, almost getting another sentry, which would have been a massive pickup for him because you really want to limit the number of force fields because Naerok has the capability. He's got the tech currently for another Immortal all-in, but no, he's thrown down the robotic space, switching it up to Colossus, making it so that he'll have that AoE once the Hydralisks do start to be added into the mix. We can see that 4 Hydralisks are going to begin to mix in with that Roach Hydra play. We don't see any upgrades at all started just yet, which is surprising because those double Evo chambers have finished up and we do have the money for it. So yeah, I mean, HerO, he's got great play. Like he definitely knows how to control his Zerglings. He's got good map awareness. He was aware of that little gap. He's been using the terrain to his advantage, and he's picked up on the little mistakes that Naerok is been leaving open for him, little opportunities to do some extra damage. However, he's just missing out on some of the mainstays for Zerg. You need creep spread, you need upgrades, you need to stay ahead of the curve, because now the Colossus are on the field. You need to be able to have your Hydralisks close that gap on top of the Colossus very, very quickly, and because you need creep spread for that. Once again, the force fields really go down, sandwiching in a lot of the units. Extended thermal lance not quite done, so that Colossus really couldn't shell down the damage on top of the Hydralisks. But in all honesty, not a lot of Hydralisks thrown into this mix. 186 over 130, but that is a lot of roaches. He really wants to get on top of this force, throw down just a nice concave, and really just melt away Naerok's major army. And he did not have enough energy for a recall. It's because of that time stop right there. Probably a good play from Naerok to do that. It's very difficult to know exactly when you need to recall and when you can get away with just doing a time stop. Do a little bit of extra damage while you're retreating. We do see some... Oh, yeah, I thought I saw this charge being researched. Charge being researched for Naerok instead of Blink. When he pushed out initially, he had 4 or 5 Stalkers into his mix, zero Zealots, which was surprising because he had a primarily... he had that charge tech, which is definitely what you need whenever you're throwing in a lot of Zealots into the mix, but not really whenever you have primarily Stalkers. So I don't know if that's a misclick or merely something that he was thinking ahead. He likes to have some Stalkers thrown into that mix. Really nice concave for HerO. Not a lot force fields can do whenever you're surrounded from all sides, but once again, you can just throw down a ridiculous number of force fields. But man, those roaches are so robust. They're pushing forward, pushing Naerok all the way back home, and then HerO immediately realizing he's got an opening for the third, pushing and trying to do damage to the infrastructure, which I would have gone for the Nexus, try to get that snipe down on the Nexus, keep Naerok contained on just 2 bases. That's really, really cool. Check out those gateways. That's neat. That's zoom-inable. Yeah, I like that a lot. Oh no, what is this? This is why he was getting Zealot charge. Oh, really great play. I totally missed the Warp Prison being built to begin with, but those Zealots moving in here, just surrounding the hive, doing a ridiculous amount of damage. And where are the roaches just now trundling home? It looks like they're taking the long way around, and I don't think it's going to be fast enough to save that hive, even with the roaches arriving just now to do some damage. The Zealots capable of taking them down completely. And check out these upgrades. +2 weapon done, +3 being started just now. Wow, and we've got +1/+1 only for HerO. He's definitely behind in a lot of ways. I mean, he's definitely behind on tech. His hive went down before he could throw down anything of note. No Spire, no Greater Spire, no Ultralisk Cavern or anything like that. He's still on 1/1. Yeah, he got out a handful of, what are these guys called? Vipers. And that's definitely going to help him on the Colossus. Don't discount that. However, the loss of the hive without getting out that massive tech advantage that you would expect is really going to set him back a lot. Fortunately, HerO did manage to snipe down that Warp Prism, which is really going to shut down a lot of the harass potential. We do see the Observer just seeing that the hatchery is indeed going to be rebuilt, but we do see another echelon of Zealots moving in on the right side. At the same time, we see a major clash. Oh wow, the Sonic Storm going down right on top of those roaches, doing a lot of extra damage. Unfortunately, the AoE is just not enough to keep all these roaches in check, and HerO is just continually pouring resources into this, forcing a hallucinated Colossus, but not enough to actually break down the door. It looks like the Zealots have succeeded in taking out another hatchery, and this is actually getting obnoxious for HerO because he's got a great number of harvesters, but his income is significantly shallow because he's only on 2 bases right now. His hatchery and his main is going to be rebuilt in a handful of seconds, but really HerO just wants some peace and quiet so he can tech up, get back to where he was with that hive. We can see the hive just now being started. Oh, where did he rebuild that layer? Did I miss that? In the natural. That makes sense. Definitely makes sense. Cleaning up one of the pylons that were kind of proxy to the third location. However, there's another one up on the high ground, and it looks like Naerok has bought himself plenty of extra time to get out a handful of extra expansions, even going so far as to saturate that 4th one just as his main is beginning to be mined out. And that's what I'm talking about with being, a previous Masters level player. He's got that really nice timing. He definitely knows when he's going to be starting to get mined out on one expansion, when it's time to start working towards the second one. Something that I'd really like to see out of Naerok would be to throw on an extra Stargate or 2. Obviously, he's kind of mineral starved and gas starved right now because he's blitzing towards that 200 supply. But something that he could think about adding into the mix is that Stargate play, because Void Rays can really help out as HerO starts to work towards that Greater Spire tech. That's something that's becoming more and more popular for Zerg, is to get that Greater Spire out there. I know for the longest time it was that slow and methodical push from the lurkers. It doesn't look like this slow push from HerO is going to be enough to actually clean up this Nexus, despite some really clever micro. The AoE is just way too powerful, and then these Zealots are absolutely ruthless when it comes to taking care of all these roaches, even going so far as to leave one roach alive. However, the probes are turning around to actually take care of them, so that's actually a clever way to do it. He's probably going to lose 1 or 2 extra probes, but no big deal. No big deal at all. What I was saying about Naerok was that the Greater Spire play is beginning to get back into vogue. It's beginning to be more and more popular because Broodlords are frankly just more mobile than the Swarm hosts, and you gain some mobility, and you don't really lose a lot of damage potential. And because of that, I'm beginning to see more and more Protoss adding in that Stargate play, getting out a lot of those Void Rays, because they can melt away both the Swarm hosts incredibly quickly, the Roaches incredibly quickly, but they also counter the Broodlords very, very well, especially when they're accompanied by Corruptors. So yeah, we see those Corruptors started immediately. The Greater Spire actually going immediately. I keep forgetting that Hive was rebuilt so very, very quickly. HerO at 200, Naerok at 200. Both players beginning to mass up a significant amount of bank, and it looks like Naerok's going to be pressing the issue right now. The Viper's moving in. Where is the blinding cloud on top of this? Ooh, really can't get close enough because of those massive storms down on top of the Roaches as they push up into that choke. Really nice positioning here from Naerok, realizing that he's got the high ground and is just waiting, praying that his ridiculous number of High Templars can throw down a nice storm on top of these Roaches. The already weakened Roaches, another... How many storms is that? That is absolutely ridiculous. And we can see the plump. Holy crap, look at that supply. It goes from 190 down to 100 in just a handful of seconds. This is brutal. And then every single one of those High Templars become Archons in just a handful of seconds. That is ludicrous. And look at this supply tab. He had 10 Corruptors coming out, 10 Corruptors that would have taken care of not only the Mothership core, but also those Colossus incredibly quickly. And then he only would have had to deal with those High Templars. Those High Templars were enough. Holy crap, those storms were ridiculous. Naerok, I feel like this entire game he was playing defensively. I mean, yeah, he pushed out, did some attacks, but every single one of those attacks were very either throwaway because of the Zealots just running out there and dying for ire, or because he had the Mothership core with him, because he could retreat at a moment's notice, really not lose anything. It sucked that he lost so many of those sentries early on, but that was because of a glitch or whatever, not because he was bad. So Naerok's playstyle is kind of defensive until he builds up to this death ball. There was a period, maybe 3-5 minute period, where he was going towards that 200 supply. He was like at 120 supply, adding in a ridiculous amount of Zealots, waiting on that High Templar tech that I feel like he was most vulnerable. But that's probably because I haven't seen a lot of these game styles. HerO, I feel strongly that what you're lacking in creep spread you make up for in unit control. I mean, you're very, very aware of your Roaches, and I feel like you did a good job in dodging the storms initially, but then as you got kind of pushed back into this no-win scenario where you're defending your Hive once again and you really have nowhere else to go, you had to eat those storms, and that's terrible. I feel like a lot of creep spread down here could have made it so that you could have surrounded Naerok from a lot of different sides in this kind of open field area, which is really where you want to engage. You want to use that concave to the most of your potentials, and then also utilize your Vipers more. I didn't see if there was a bunch of feedbacks, but I did see that they were all dead in a very, very short amount of time, and that's probably because just the sheer number of High Templars was ridiculous. But I would have loved to see some more Yoink micro, take out those Colossus, take out that Mothership core, and then throw down some Blinding Clouds. There's a lot of Stalkers added into this mix, and cutting down their range, making it so your Roaches can get on top of them faster, can really make it so you can avoid storms by not only pushing through the storm, but also pulling back. Giving you more opportunity to avoid the damage. I like this game. This was great. Like I said, it was a Masters level play played on gold level server, so it's kind of unique. You know who else is unique? People who watch my videos, because they're 1 in a million. They're super intelligent and sexy. So I appreciate that. If you guys have a game you want me to cast, you could PM me here or on Reddit. One way or another, I will see you guys later. I am Ibigandscary.